than what I showed you in the previous lesson, though. So let's go ahead and shift our attention kind of down here to our character's pants. Now, haven't really done much with the pants as of yet, so I went ahead and created a quick belt buckle, just using my pen tool. It's just basically a few basic shapes that are grouped together here. If you want to explore that, feel free. But what I'd like to do here is I'd like to create just a little bit of contrast between these black pants that our character is wearing and this black mass of hair behind her. Just something to maybe set apart the silhouette of her legs. Now, we could come in here and come over to our stroke panel, and let's just add a 1-point stroke to the pants, and we'll make that white. And you can see here that actually does the trick. It creates a little bit of separation, kind of highlighting the actual silhouette of the pants. But that's not exactly what I'd like to go for. I'd like to go for something a little bit more thick and thin, a little bit more like the inking you might see in a comic book. So I tell you what, let's bounce back over here to the stroke panel, and let's go ahead and align our stroke to the outside, which is this third option right here. And hopefully that will make it to where the stroke is not visible at the bottom. We may have to adjust those bottom anchor points. But I'm going to come over here with my object selected, and let's go ahead and grab the width tool. It's right here in your tool panel. Keyboard shortcut for that is Shift W. And we're going to come over here and we're going to basically start thickening up certain portions of the stroke around our character's pants. Now, I'm going to first start maybe down here at the bottom left corner. I'd like to maybe thicken this up and maybe leave it fairly thin up here. So I'm going to go ahead and grab right near the corner here. Let's go ahead and zoom in nice and close on that. And we'll go ahead and come down here and notice that when I mouse over this stroke with the width tool, I get this little circle with a slash next to it, meaning that I can't adjust the width of this stroke. The reason being is because I adjust the alignment of the stroke here. I went ahead and set that to align to the outside of the path. So let's go ahead and set that to align to center of path. And notice here the cursor is a little bit different. Now when we mouse over that, we get a little white dot on the path itself. So it may be kind of hard for you to see, but I'm going to go ahead and click, and let's just drag out here. Notice what's happening. We're pulling a couple of little handles out here from the sides of the path, and it's actually thickening up our stroke a bit. Let me go ahead and click here in the center, and we'll drag that all the way to the bottom. And you can kind of see that we've created sort of this thick and thin look about the stroke. Now, at this point, let's go ahead and grab our selection tool, and notice here that our stroke is still a little bit thin up here, so I'm going to go ahead and undo that here, and let's go ahead and change this to a little bit bigger stroke to start with, maybe a 1.5 point stroke. That looks pretty good. So now we'll go ahead and switch back to that width tool, and let's go ahead and repeat that here. Now, instead of actually just clicking and dragging and pulling out a handle from either side, we can also hold down the Alt button and pull out a handle from only one side. So maybe we want to just pull out a handle from this left side, and we'll grab that center on the path and drag it right down to the bottom there. And you can see here that we've essentially done the exact same thing, only this time our stroke is not eating into our character's leg. So I think that works just a bit better here. So I'm going to come up here and let's go ahead and do the same thing for this stroke on the inside of her leg, except let's do the opposite. Let's go ahead and widen that up here, up near the top of her leg, while keeping it thin down here near the bottom. So we'll go ahead and click and drag. Let me undo that. I want to hold down Alt and click and drag. So we're only pulling that stroke out on one side. And I'm going to go about as far as we went with that first stroke. About right there. And let me go ahead and just zoom in on that here. Now, this is, if I drag that all the way up to that anchor point, notice what happens. We get this little edge right here where our stroke is actually extending beyond this path after the corner. I don't want to do that, so I'm going to drag that close, but not all the way. Let's drag it right about there. All right, great. So working our way around here, let's go ahead and handle the left side of her left leg here. I'm going to go ahead and grab right here, hold down Alt, and we'll pull that stroke out right there. I'm going to pull that out pretty wide, kind of like we did with that first one. Now, if we want to come in and modify that, all we need to do is grab this little handle right here. And we can just squeeze that in a little bit. So we'll go ahead and drag that all the way down here. And let's go ahead and handle this last side. Now, we may run into a problem here with this last side because you may notice here that the layer that we have our flesh tones for the hands is actually on top of our pants layer. So I may actually cheat and come up here and let's go ahead and just grab our selection tool, grab that little piece of skin, And let's go ahead and move that down to the pants layer, just like so. And we'll go ahead and send that to the back. Now we've got that stroke in front like we want. Now we can grab our width tool again, and let's go ahead and increase the size of the stroke by holding down the Alt key right up here. Now notice what happens. We've only pulled it out between those 2 points. So I'm going to undo that, and let's go ahead and pull it out right about here. Now it's actually going to disappear into the shirt, which is okay with me, but let's go ahead and notice here that it didn't widen the stroke quite all the way down. It's because we've got another point right here. So let me hold down Alt. I'm going to pull that one out just a bit. And we'll just kind of graduate this on down the leg, just like so. I may fiddle with that stroke on that side of that leg here in between lessons, but we've just used the variable width tool here to create this nice comic-styled stroke. Now, at this point, feel free to do whatever you want with her pants. If you want to maybe make those leather and start creating some reflections using gradients on the pants, feel free. For me, I think that I'm going to leave them as is, leaving them very minimal because we've got so much going on up here. I definitely don't want to detract from all the nice detail we've already created by adding in a bunch more detail into the pants here. So looking at the final piece here, or looking at the piece, there's one area we've kind of avoided here, and it's right here in the chest. It's her brassiere. Now, I do have something kind of special lined up for you with this here. So in the next lesson, we're going to pick up where we're leaving off here, and we're going to shift our attention over to her underwear here and texturing that.